The stock market crashed and shrank in half on October 29, 1929, leading to the infamous Great Depression. Millions of Americans were laid off and struggled to survive. Banks weren't able to pay their loans and closed their doors nationwide. Consumer spending, personal income, investment, and tax revenue dropped, which caused immense shortage and an eventual unemployment rate of 25%, the highest percentage of unemployment in American history. The Bonus Army was one of many occurring conflicts in 1932. The Bonus Army was a gathering of 43,000 marchers, of which 17,000 were World War I veterans who hadn't yet received their payment for having fought in the war. They gathered in Washington, D.C. and demanded cash payment redemptions for their services during the war. President Hoover had the Bonus Army camp cleared, which left numerous people injured. From 1934 to 1937, the Great Plains region was devastated by a sandstorm and drought known as the Dust Bowl. The crops in these areas failed and left people hungry and parched. The soil was so poor in minerals and other elements necessary for growing vegetation that it was easily picked up by winds and wreaked havoc on the remaining crops.
This nation asks for action, and action now. This is a quote from Franklin Roosevelt during his inaugural address on March 4, 1933. In his inaugural address, FDR demanded action and action now to fight the Great Depression. He did not waste any time in delivering on that promise. On his first day in office, he called Congress into special admission. He had promised Americans a New Deal, and now he began to construct it. Roosevelt's New Deal would touch virtually every aspect of American economic life and forever change the role of the federal government in the lives of the Americans.
The New Deal was a series of government work programs that were aimed towards improving the economy. The implementation of these programs led to a decline in unemployment from 25% to 21% within Roosevelt's first year in office. Private investment increased and the economy was growing for the first time since the market crash in 1929. On top of that, the New Deal led to improved infrastructure still used to this day, such as electrification, highways, and schools.
There were many different reactions to the New Deal. The Republicans complained about deficit spending. They believed that FDR was spending money that the government didn't have. Also, they argued that he was only reducing unemployment by making too many people employees of the government. Rich people and corporate owners thought he was giving too much power to workers' unions and to the workers. They even called him a traitor to his class. In fact, Henry Ford refused to meet him when he visited the Ford factory. The left also criticized the New Deal and believed he did not go far enough. After the stock market crashed, they believed the whole banking system was unorganized and he was just propping it up by fixing it temporarily. However, families in the working class were very happy with FDR for his contributions. Other critics of the New Deal were Dr. Francis E. Townsend, who spoke on behalf of the elderly, Huey Long, who wanted to redistribute national income, Charles E. Coughlin, who said FDR favored big businesses, and the Union Party, who tried to challenge FDR.
Roosevelt served as President of the United States from 1933 to 1945. He instituted the New Deal in 1933. When many business people and bankers opposed to the New Deal, Roosevelt introduced Social Security, new controls over banks and public utilities, and a work relief program for the unemployed while heavily taxing the wealthy. In his second term, Roosevelt sought the legislative branch to expand the Supreme Court as to nullify the New Deal that he repealed in 1938. Though he lost this battle, a new constitutional law was added in which the government was able to regulate the economy. He also tried to keep America out of fighting the Second World War with a neutrality legislation. However, when France fell into the hands of Germany in 1940, Roosevelt sent Great Britain all the kinds of aid except for military involvement. Roosevelt even thought about planning a United Nations as to strengthen the relationship between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. But he never got to this, as he died 84 days into his fourth term on April 12, 1945.
Roosevelt's legacy is evident in the first National Library that he built next to his home that has been since converted into a museum in Hyde Park, New York. The New Deal and the other reforms that came after it paved the way out of the Great Depression and towards economic and structural growth, in part thanks to provided subsidies on public projects.